In this video, I'll share with you what I've found out around life with the Filipina and if it's more or less complicated than being in a relationship with a woman from your own country. What I'll tell you here is based on my own experience of living with and being married to a Filipina for the past 8 years. Now, of course, others may have a different experience, and if this is you, then feel free to share your experiences in the comments section below. I'll tell you that from my experience, life with a Filipina in some ways has been more complicated than any other relationship I've had, but that doesn't mean it's not a more fulfilling relationship. So to find out more, be sure to buckle up and stay with me here. When two completely different worlds collide, there'll always be difficulties around things like understanding each other and around communication. Simply, when we're in a relationship with a woman in our own country, we've both lived a similar life, spoken the same language, and generally understand one another. Well, at least, more so than a woman from another country may. These are just some of the hurdles we need to overcome as a couple when we're in a relationship with a Filipina. And I'll tell you, it does take time, patience, and understanding from the two of you. Just as you may not understand why she acts the way she does or says the things she says, she may also wonder the same with you. She may never have been in a relationship with a foreign man before, and to her, your thinking or your ways of doing things may be a complete mystery to her. It's really important to understand this right from the very start because life with a Filipina, at least in the early stages, can be more complicated than some may think. Trying to get on the same page with one another is so important to build any relationship, and it may not just happen instantly, and may in fact take a couple of years. Even after 8 years with my wife, on occasions I'm still baffled by some of the things she may say or do, but I do understand it's all part of who she is and where she comes from and her life in the Philippines. Equally, I'm sure at times she still wonders about certain ways I may act or the things I may say. Simply, it's all part of bringing those two worlds together over time. But what you'll find is the rewards are far greater than the effort or time involved to create such a relationship. In fact, after a while, you don't even notice the time or effort you guys spend to create a better understanding of each other. I believe we can all have an understanding of another person if we truly want to listen to what they have to say and have an open mind which will allow us to see things from their perspective. For me, what I found to be a more difficult challenge, especially early in our relationship, was the many misunderstandings around communication. Now, I understood that English wasn't my wife's first language. In fact, it was her third language, as she spoke Ilocano and Tagalog as her main two dialects. For her, she learnt some English from working in a multinational company in Makati, where some of the bosses may be from countries like the US, Canada and Australia. So over the years, she got to speak English at a fairly basic level. Now, what I came to understand was, while she could speak English okay to the point we could have good conversations, she didn't always understand everything I was saying. At times, the way I may phrase a sentence or even speak too fast, as many of us Aussies do, was going way over her head. Now, of course, I thought she was understanding everything I was saying because she would smile and nod her head. We must realise that many Filipinas may feel too shy to say they don't understand us, and so they may miss the important aspects of what we're trying to communicate. I remember several times when my wife and I were discussing some things of importance, and I thought she understood, only for her to do the exact opposite a few days later. I came to find out that she didn't understand fully what I was saying, and so she just assumed what it was that we'd agreed upon. Now, we're both to blame for this misunderstanding or miscommunication, as my wife should have been the one to say she didn't understand what I was saying, but by the same token, I should have been more aware that many Filipinas won't say that they're not understanding, and so I should be more clearer and speak in more simple terms, and also be aware to slow myself down when speaking to her. I'm sure most of us know that sometimes when we get excited about something, we can tend to speak much faster, and to a person where English is a third language, this can be very difficult to understand. These are just some of the things we deal with when we're dating a woman from the Philippines that I believe are rather common. But as I said earlier, that doesn't make the relationship not worthwhile. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Once we as a couple start to gain more common ground around understanding of each other's ways and communication becomes easier, we start to get a sense of satisfaction that we've overcome these obstacles, which of course draws us closer as a couple. Overcoming these barriers shows our partner that they're worth the time and effort that we put in because we love the person, and it says, "I'm here for you for the long term." From there, we do see our relationship flourish as the bond continues to strengthen. I guess this is something I never had to worry about in any of my other serious relationships in my life, as they're all with Aussie women. So the barriers I found with a Filipina just weren't there. In some ways, perhaps this ended up being the factor of why my relationships broke down. We tend to become complacent in assuming we understand one another. But looking back, it just makes a couple lazier around putting in much time and effort to create a good relationship. With a Filipina, you're always thinking and always wanting to make sure you guys are on the same page and understanding each other. In turn, this creates more certainty and, as I say, brings a couple closer. I know for myself, I certainly don't take my wife for granted, and I know she feels the same about me. As the years marched on, I found that our relationship got stronger and continues to get stronger each and every year, just as our love for one another grows. Just when I thought I couldn't be happier or more content, I get proven wrong and see more growth and love than we ever had. So yes, you can be sure in the ways that I've mentioned here, life with a Filipina can be more complicated. But when we overcome these obstacles together, what we find is an amazing relationship and love that we may never have experienced before. To the point that I struggle to find the words to explain such a feeling, and I do put that down to the fact that by constantly working together to gain that good understanding of each other allowed us to build a really solid base for the relationship, something that many more traditional relationships may fail to do. So, by all means, being in a relationship with a Filipina is certainly very worthwhile. And if you're anything like me, you will find peace and contentment in your life that you never thought possible. To start your search for a genuine Filipina, be sure to check out the card on screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.